Cybersecurity stocks have been flying high this year, with a rise in hacking incidents and buzz around artificial intelligence fueling investor interest in the sector. And Palo Alto Networks has been a top performer in the software security industry group, with shares climbing 120% so far in 2023. And joining me to discuss key cybersecurity themes for the year ahead is Wendi Whitmore. She's the SVP and head of Unit 42 at Palo Alto Networks. And Wendi, it's so great to be able to speak with you. And looking back at this year, what were the big things that stood out to you in terms of cybersecurity trends? Were there any noticeable themes or big surprises for you?
Yeah. Hi, Alexis. That's great to be here. I think this year there's been two primary stories. So first and foremost is the geopolitical landscape that we're dealing with, right? There's conflict in nearly every region of the world. And when that occurs, it's a great opportunity for threat actors, and in particular nation state actors on the cyberspace side, to really dig in and conduct even more espionage activity. So we've seen a massive influx on that side. The second would be the professionalization that we've seen from the cyber criminal side. So cyber criminals are really looking to, make money, right? Have a return on their investment from these attacks. And we've seen them truly professionalize their business models and develop a deep understanding of not only how businesses operate from a technology perspective, but how they operate from a business to business context in terms of relationships with their providers and vendors. And we've seen them exploit that pretty heavily this year.
So then how are you preparing your customers and your own organization for these increasingly dangerous incidents?
A great question, right? So preparation is more important than ever. The good news is I think we still go back to a lot of the basics. So from a security side, having incident response plans in place, understanding how to get a hold of your employees, having a mechanism to communicate with your key team members that is out of the bands of the normal communications you have. And then from a technology perspective, I think it's more important than ever for organizations to be able to see outside of their landscape, meaning what does their attack surface look like externally to an attacker? And so having a very significant preparation in that space to be able to detect new vulnerabilities quickly, identify where applications exist, and how to protect them and lock them down when needed.
So we've seen how the landscape has developed this year, but what do you anticipate being the big changes for cybersecurity in 2024?
I think we're going to see a bit more of the same, right? But an exaggerated amount. So meaning I think nation state actors are going to continue to operate in the background and do so more aggressively than ever. And on the cyber criminal side, not only are we seeing them professionalize the type of operations they're doing, but we're also seeing them lean heavily into extortion. So this year we have over 75% of our ransomware and cyber criminal cases include extortion. Last year it was only 20%. So they see that it's effective to reach out to humans to really put the pressure on people, individual executives, and in sometimes in cases their families. I think we're going to continue to see more of that as these attackers become more desperate to make money.
And we've certainly seen the buzz around artificial intelligence. What role will that play in cybersecurity?
I think between you and I, it's going to be pretty significant, right? We've certainly used the machine learning and the precision AI capabilities for a long time in developing our software and technologies. But what attackers are doing on the generative AI side is really having an impact from the communication sphere. So we've seen that both in verbal communications and in written communications, where you're now seeing language barriers nearly decrease. And on the verbal side, people are able to really replicate voice for identity verification to security teams. So that's concerning, and I think we'll likely see more of that.
Well, we know that hackers are using this technology, but I'm assuming Palo Alto is also incorporating AI into its products and solutions for its customers. So can you talk a little bit about the role of that technology and how generative AI is fitting into the Palo Alto framework?
Absolutely. Our teams are working every day. So, I mentioned precision AI. We've been working with that and machine learning for years, But on the generative AI side, we're able to accelerate workflows, have co-pilots for nearly every division of our business that enables us to just rapidly automate workflows and really take our the work that our personnel and our skilled people are doing to the next level. We're going to continue doing more of that in the months and years to come.
And there's also been some regulatory developments that will impact your clients and your business in particular, with the SEC ruling around disclosure rules for companies to report these hacking incidents. How do you see that impacting companies, and what is Palo Alto doing to respond to this mandate?
So I think timing in terms of response is more important than it's ever been. Having relationships in advance is key for every business out there. So that's not only with organizations like ours who provide incident response capabilities, but it's with external law firms, with crisis communications, and I think most importantly, with external law enforcement. So having those relationships in advance so they can really work through from a proper disclosure perspective. I think, one of the more disturbing and concerning parts of this is that the attackers are now using, right, the SEC regulation to their advantage and saying, hey, I attacked this business and they didn't report, so we're going to proactively report it. I think that's going to be really challenging, right? The first 4 days are of any investigation are when the information is most dynamic. And so it's a challenge for organizations. So having those relationships and preparation in advance is more important than it's ever been.
And in terms of seeing how companies and organizations are prepared, do you think they're better prepared for these incidents now? And I guess, how is Palo Alto then stepping in to really differentiate themselves from the rest of the competitive landscape?
So first part of the question, 100%. Organizations are more prepared than ever, and that oftentimes doesn't, make the headlines, right? Because those are the cases that stay out of the news. The reality is that, attackers are seeing an increase in this preparation on the technology side and the business side. So that's why we're seeing them resort to some means like extortion. In terms of how Palo Alto is working, I mean, we're helping organizations every day. We are conducting more incident response investigations and have more retainer clients for our proactive services business than we've ever had before. And there's simply no technology organization out there that offers the breadth of capabilities that Palo Alto offers. So when our clients do business with us, they're really getting a full suite of capabilities. It's pretty unparalleled.
Then how would you say companies then stay ahead of these threat actors as the landscape changes? And how do you advise your customers?
What we focus on is being able to prevent the next breach, whatever that may be, right? And do that more effectively than anyone out there so that we can reduce operational impact. So the keys to that are detecting early. So having advanced early warning systems, like the ability to do attack surface mapping, is key. And then the preparation side, right? Being able to detect at the network, on the cloud, and at the endpoint, and aggregate that information quickly, rapidly, and work with really experienced partners who have an understanding of your business. Doing that in advance, that's exceptionally key. And that's what's going to make the difference for organizations to be successful against these attackers.
Well, Wendi, we really appreciate your insights today. Thank you so much for your time.
You're so welcome. Thank you.